Today we are going to start with the shear strain gauges. So in the last class we have solved some of the problems of strain gauge row sets. This is the next topic in the syllabus of second module. And here we have to study about the shear strain gauges. As you know, we are always checking the strain gauges in normal directions, that is in x direction, y direction, or any other directions. But we have to check whether the strain is the shear strain is induced in a material. So this strain gauge is not going to determine this shear strain in a direct way. Okay, you can't determine that by using the strain gauges. So you have some technique to solve those shear strain measured, and the gauges which are used to measure the shear strain, those strain gauges are called as shear strain gauges. So you can see here this is a strain gauge. Okay, so you can see this is the A gauge and this is a B gauge. Okay, this A gauge and B gauge are oriented in some angle which is bisecting the x-axis. Okay, so you can see here this is the A gauge, this is the B gauge, which are inclined at some angle and which is bisecting the x-axis. So this type we are going to make the arrangement and we are going to determine the shear strain of any material. So see here, the strain gauge does not respond to shear strains. However, the relationship between the shear and normal strain can be utilized to obtain from a strain rosette an output directly proportional to the shear strain in the surface. Means you can directly determine this shear strains. Okay, so that's why what we do, we are going to select the relationship. Okay, relationship between the shear and normal strains, that we are going to take and we are going to consider it for the determination of strain. Okay, so how we are going to determine here? So you can see these are the two gauges A and B. So in here the two strain gauges A and B are oriented. Okay, you can see here the two strain gauges that is A and B is oriented so that the x-axis bisects the angle between gauge axis strain along the two gauge axis. Okay, so we can have the two gauges which are bisecting the x-axis. Okay, that we are going to consider here, and you can see these are the equations. Okay, so these are the equation. This is the strain developed in a gauge A and this is the strain developed in a gauge B. Okay, so the strain which is developed, which is related to the epsilon xx plus epsilon yb. These are the actual strains which are to be developed in a whatever the testing surface epsilon xx and epsilon yy, which is along x and y directions, and gamma xy is the shear strain which is developed. So that equation we are going to consider, that is epsilon A is equal to epsilon xx plus epsilon y by 2 plus of epsilon xx minus epsilon y by 2 cos 2 theta plus gamma xy by 2 sin 2 theta. So this is the one equation, and similarly epsilon b, which is by just changing this minus sign we are getting the another equation. Okay, so like that we have considered the two equations, you can see here. So from this above two equations, we are going to determine the shear strain. So how we are going to determine? Just by solving these two equations. By solving these two equations, we are going to get this equation, that is the gamma xy. Okay, that is gamma xy is equal to epsilon a minus epsilon b by sin 2 theta. Okay, so this is the equation which you are going to get from the above two equation solution simplification. Okay, so from the above equation, the difference in normal strain sensed by any two arbitrary oriented gauges in a uniform strain field is directly proportional to the shear strain along an axis bisecting the included angle between the strain gauge axis. Means in here the gamma xy, so you can see here this is the gamma xy. So this gamma xy is equal to epsilon a minus epsilon b. Okay, the epsilon a minus epsilon b means this is the variation epsilon a minus epsilon b divided by sin 2 theta. So what we do, this is the difference. This is gamma xy is directly proportional to the shear strain. The gamma xy is directly proportional to the difference of strains which are developed in the two gauges divided by sin 2 theta. If we consider that theta is equal to, if you consider this theta is equal to 90 degree, so what happens? So if you consider the theta is equal to 90 degree, then sin 180 is equal to 0, sorry, sin 180 is equal to 1. So what happens? You can directly write the gamma xy is equal to epsilon a minus epsilon b. It is directly equal to gamma xy is equal to epsilon minus epsilon b. Okay. So like that you are going to consider in here. Hence, by orienting the two element rectangular rosette such that the x-axis bisects the 90-degree angle between the gauge element and connecting the gauge element in the adjacent arm of a Wheatstone bridge, and output from the rosette angle equal to the shear strain gamma xy can be obtained directly. So what we do, we are going to orient the similar way which are shown in this diagram. So in similar way, if you arrange the strain gauges, so you are going to get the shear strain directly. So that is the purpose of this shear strain. Okay. Okay. Next is the stress gauge. As we know, we always know about the strain gauge. Okay. The strain gauge is mainly concerning about this, what are the measurement of strain over any material where there is a change of strain happens. But what is the stress gauge? Okay. So the stress gauge are nothing but the gauges which directly measures the stress in a material. Okay. So strain gauges are those which measures the strain, and it will give that by using those strains we are going to measure the stress. But stress gauges are directly giving the stress value. Okay. So it's very helpful because for example, one machine is working in a dynamic condition. If you want to measure the stress of that machine in different points, for example 5 points, so you want the stress, but what so in here the strain gauge will require the strain rosettes, but if you arrange the strain rosette for the 5 points, it will consumes lot of space. But stress gauge is a single gauge which can easily determine the whatever the value of the stress over that point. So you can easily measure the stress of those 5 points. Okay. So these stress gauges are nothing but it is going to directly give the stress value with respect to the strains. Okay. So that is the stress gauges. So you can see the diagram. So this is the diagram. So you can see it's only one gauge. It is oriented such that it is bisecting the on axis, x-axis. So you can see this is the single gauge. You can see it is making some angle. Okay, this angle which is going to be considered for the stress gauges. If this angle is there, so you can measure the stress value directly. Okay, we will see how it is. So this is the Mohr cycle which is representing the stress gauge values, that is epsilon xx, epsilon yy, epsilon 1, epsilon 2, and the angle which is making 251. Okay, this is the Mohr circle for the strain gauge. So figure shows the sketch of stress gauge with its axis along x-axis. The gauge is oriented such that x-axis bisects the angle 2 theta between the grid element A and B of this gauge. As I said, this whatever the gauges, this is stress gauge which is making the bisection with the whatever the axis, this whatever the axis which is passing at the center, which is bisecting the gauge arrangement of this stress gauge. Okay, so we consider this is A and this is B. Okay, so this is making minus phi angle. Okay, this is minus phi minus theta angle, it is plus theta angle. So by these two arrangement of a gauge you can determine the stress value. Okay, so let's move on to this. So this arrangement, the A gauge and B gauge, the strain along the grid element. Okay, you can see here the strain along the grid element. You can see here the strain along the grid material A and B. This A and B are given by. So this is epsilon phi 1 minus theta. This phi 1 minus theta is representing the bottom gauge. So it is making negative angle. That is phi 1 minus theta, which is called as a negative angle, and epsilon phi 1 plus theta is the above gauge, which is making plus theta angle. So that is the 2 theta bisection which is going to make in here. Okay, so this is the equation half of epsilon 1 plus epsilon 2 plus of half of epsilon minus epsilon 2 cos 2 phi 1 minus theta. So this is the equation. This is taken as A. Similarly, this is the strain value which is obtained in the gauge which is making plus theta, that is half of epsilon plus epsilon 1 plus epsilon 2 plus of half of epsilon 1 minus epsilon 2 cos 2 phi 1 plus theta. This is taken as equation B. Okay, so in here if you make the average of these two equations, that is half of epsilon 1 minus epsilon 2 plus of epsilon phi 1 plus theta, if you make this average, we are going to get these equations. Okay, you can get the equation as half of epsilon 1 plus epsilon 2 plus 1 by 4 of epsilon 1 minus epsilon 2 in the bracket cos 2 phi 1 plus theta plus cos 2 phi 1 minus theta. This is the equation you are going to get, which is taken as C. So if you expand this cosine term in the above equation, if you expand this means if you expand this cosine term, you are going to get this term, that is the cos 2 theta plus cos 2a plus cos 2b. You can write this as a 2 cos a cos b. So that can be written in here. So you can see here 1 by 4 is turned into 1 by 2. So it is 2 cos 2 phi 1 cos 2 cos 2 theta, which is the equation you are going to get in here. That will be written in the B equation. Okay, so next is the Mohr strain circles. We have to consider this value. So that is epsilon xx plus epsilon yy is equal to epsilon plus epsilon 2, that is taken as equation E, and epsilon xx minus epsilon yy is equal to epsilon 1 minus epsilon 2 cos 2 phi 1. This is the equations you have to consider in here. Okay, so now we are going to substitute the value of E and F. This equation and this E and F equation is going to be substituted in the equation D. So what happens? See here. Okay, if you substitute to this E and E, you can see here half of the equation changes to, you can see this equation is going to be changed in this form. Okay, this equation is changes to this form. Okay, so in here half of epsilon xx in the place of epsilon plus epsilon 2 you are going to substitute epsilon xx plus epsilon yy. Then you are going to substitute half of epsilon xx minus epsilon yy in the places half of epsilon 1 minus epsilon 2. Okay, this equation is changed to this form. So see here, next you are simplifying this term. Okay, you are going to simplify this term, half of epsilon xx minus epsilon y cos theta, it will be converted into this term. Cos theta is equal to 2 cos square minus theta minus 1. Okay, so next you are again multiplying these factors and you are going to get next equation, that is epsilon xx cos square theta minus epsilon yy cos square theta half minus of half into epsilon xx minus epsilon yy. This is the equation you are going to get. If you simplify this equation, you are going to get the next equation, that is just you are going to eliminate this and this, and only the term which are going to get it is epsilon yy in these two terms, and you are going to get epsilon yy. Okay, not completely elimination is required, since in here only epsilon xx and epsilon xx is going to get cancelled out, but in here epsilon yy and epsilon yy is remaining in here. 2 epsilon yy is going to be there, and your half, if you make the simplification, you are going to get epsilon yy. So next equation, now you are going to take this epsilon yy term outside from this equation, and you are going to get 1 minus cos square theta. So if you simplify this, 1 minus cos square theta is equal to sin square theta. So you can take the equation, you will get the equation as this. Okay, epsilon xx cos square theta minus epsilon yy sin square theta. This is the equation you are going to get. Okay, so now further simplification is considered in here. this cos square theta is going to be taken away from this equation, and it will be written in here, and further equation is transformed into epsilon xx plus epsilon y by tan square theta. Okay, so like that it's going to be considered. Okay, if theta is so chosen that it is equal to tan inverse of root of nu, then tan square theta is equal to nu. These considerations you have to make in here. Okay, tan square theta is equal to nu. So if you substitute that tan square theta and nu in the above equation, or before that you have to simplify. Tan square theta is nothing but sin square theta by cos square theta, which is equal to nu. Sin square theta is equal to nu into cos square theta. You know that 1 is equal to sin square theta plus cos square theta. If you simplify, if you substitute this sin square theta, that is nu cos square theta, you are going to get the equation as cos square theta 1 plus of nu is equal to 1, and cos square theta is equal to 1 by 1 plus nu. This is the H equation. Substituting this equation in the G equation G yields, the equation G is present in here. This is the equation G. You have to substitute tan square theta and cos square theta. So you have two values. The cos square theta is 1 by 1 plus nu, and tan square theta is equal to nu. So if your equation is going to be formed in here, this is the I equation. So you are going to get that is 1 plus the cos square theta is equal to 1 by 1 plus nu into epsilon xx plus the tan square theta is nu epsilon y by. So like that its transformation is going to take place. Now you know this general equation, the sigma is epsilon into E, that is strain into Young's modulus. You are substituting the Young's modulus in here, and you can see sigma xx is equal to E by 1 minus nu square is equal to epsilon xx plus nu into epsilon y. This is the general basic equation. You know that you are considering that equation. Now you are going to substituting the value of epsilon xx plus nu epsilon y from the above equation, that is I equation. So what the J equation become? The epsilon xx is sigma xx is equal to E by 1 minus nu. Since 1 plus nu is there, so 1 minus nu whole square can be transformed into 1 plus nu and 1 minus nu, where 1 minus nu is going to be removed, and you are going to get the equation as E by 1 minus nu 1 by 2 into epsilon phi 1 minus theta plus epsilon phi 1 plus theta. So that equation is going to be there. So if you want to determine the stress, you can see here, if you want to determine the stress, you require the strain values of that gauge, which is called a stress gauge, and you have required the property Young's modulus and the nu, the Poisson's ratio value. Okay, so just by that you are going to get the stresses of that equation. So that like you are going to make. So on a simplification, we are considering sigma 1 is known. If sigma 1 is known direction, so then we can write the epsilon theta 1 minus theta epsilon phi 1 minus theta is equal to epsilon phi 1 plus theta is equal to epsilon theta. Then we can just substitute this value, this epsilon theta. So the equation of sigma 1 is equal to sigma xx E by 1 minus nu into epsilon theta. This type you can determine the stress value. So the stress gauges are nothing but the gauges which are used to directly measure the stress of the material or a machine. Okay, so you are not going to use the strain gauge roses in here. So just by proper arrangement, and you are going to get the stress value by this calculations. Okay, so by that this is the all the introduction or brief description regarding the stress gauges. Okay, I think you have a lot of understanding about this topic. I have sent it the notes to you all. You can go through once, since it is difficult to remember all these things by just one glance. You have to repeat the process, and you have to get the proper knowledge of this whatever the topic. Okay, I think it will be helpful for you. If any queries, you can contact me on my number. Okay, thank you.